Welcome back to Blind Strike Exotics. I'm John, and today we had a awesome question from AJ Bryant on my YouTube account on my last video asking, can I do a video about the temperatures in my room, and do I do night and day temperature fluctuations? So to answer the second question, I don't do night drops other than what it naturally drops to at night in this room. So it's the middle of summer, and as you can see, I have a thermostat here, and it's 80.8 degrees in this room. And if I check, I have another one. Let's go over here. I'll put my junk pile up here on top of the incubator here. And that one, well, it's 81 after I just touched it. So it's about, the room itself is right around 80, 81 degrees. Without me having to heat anything. This is a huge cinder block room. It's under the garage. There's basically cement all around me. I have 4 giant racks plus the rats in here, plus a couple other smaller racks. So there's enough heat in here by itself that most of the summer this room stays about 80 degrees, which is exactly where you want it for your ball pythons. And a lot of other species work well with that too. You're not going to have it exactly at 80 degrees all the time, which is okay, especially in the winter. But you want the room basically at 80 degrees or so, ambient temperature. As far as the night goes, naturally it cools off outside. Here in Pittsburgh, sometimes the days don't even reach 80 degrees in the summer. Some days like today where it's 90 degrees. But the temperature always cools down below 80, usually around 65, 70 at night, which will bring the temperature down in this room probably 2 degrees, 3 degrees overall, so maybe it'll be about 78, 77 degrees. So I allow the temperature in the room come down by itself because that's what it naturally does, whether you're in Africa where the snakes are from, or I'm in Pittsburgh here. So it doesn't fluctuate too much in the room, but I don't set the thermostats, the VE 300s or whatever I have running. I have a Herpstat 6 on those racks over there. I don't do night drops on the actual thermostats themselves. As far as what do I have the hotspot set to on the thermostats on the heat panels, that's a good question as well. And the answer is it's going to be different for everybody, because what your aim is to have the hotspots be about 90 degrees for ball pythons. So you want your room to be about 80 degrees, and you want the hot spots to be about 90 degrees. And Dave Kaufman just did a awesome movie on YouTube about ball pythons in the wild, about how they, find the different morphs out in the wild and how they get them back to the US, and also took temperatures. They dug up ball pythons from under the ground in their burrows from, whether it was some sort of a rodent or whatever, termite mounds. And he actually took temperatures, inside the burrow and on top of the ground where they live, and they were about 80 degrees inside the burrow and 90 degrees in the hot spots. So you want the tubs to be, this is what the heat panels look like on the ARS racks. They just run all the way down. I try to put them, several inches away from the back, because you don't want to, if this heat panel heats right here on the bottom of the tub, you don't want it to be all the way on the back here, because as you can see, the back of the tubs sort of bevel up like that a little bit, and I feel like you're probably if you put this all the way on the back, you're going to be wasting some of that heat. So these heat panels on this 10 series rack, which is for the hatchlings, I have it set at 92 for the hot spot. Now, because these are so shallow and they're so little, it's easier for the heat panel to heat these up to about 90 degrees. Whereas on this 70 series, I actually have to set this to, I think, 96. Yeah, 96 to get those hot spots up to like 90, 91 degrees consistently. On the 55s, I set it about the same here, 96. and that gets the hot spots up to about 90 degrees. Now, there's some fluctuation. I have 11 levels on these because that's what I can fit in here. There's two ways you can handle that, and that is obviously the ones on the bottom are going to be colder, at least here anyways. It's a lot colder coming off this ground. The other kind of issue that kind of stinks with these, and I wish they provided something for this, on the bottom of these racks, they are just completely open. There's nothing down here. Whereas if you're on the next level up, you have the little spacers that, you know, I think must provide some sort of insulation, even just a little bit, because the temperature drop between this second level and the first level is huge. And I bet you there's probably a 5-degree difference. Actually, let me take the temperature and I'll actually tell you, because I'm still testing out this rack. I have all the levels plugged in even though I'm not using them yet. So this floor is 76 degrees in here, even though the ambient room temperature is 80. And this floor is underground. This isn't even like ground level. So we are 76 here. If I pull this open to the hot spot, 84, 86, 87 and a half is about where we're at. 87 and a half is the hot spot right there. That's the hottest spot on this tub on the bottom level. And if I go to the next level up, let's find the hot spot. 90. 90 and a half. Yeah. 90 and a half. So we're 90 and a half on the second level. And up here, about the same, 90 and a half. 90. And we'll go one more. We'll go one more up, see what we're looking at. About the same. This one's like actually a degree cooler. So there's a 3-degree difference between that bottom tub and the next level up, at least here in Pittsburgh. So there's two ways you can handle that. You can get something like the VE 300X2, where it has 2 probes, and basically you put a probe on the bottom level because that's going to be the coldest level to try to keep that temperature up. And I usually put my probe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe the 5th or 6th level up, so it's sort of in the middle of the rack. Don't mind Maddie's cleaning tools here. She likes to help clean, so we have her Melissa and Doug cleaning tools here. She likes to sweep up the coconut substrate off the floor. So you can do something like that, or you can just forget about it. I actually sometimes put snakes in the bottom row of these racks that don't need it as hot as ball pythons, which is a kind of a benefit thing of the lower levels being a little cooler. Is, well, if you have snakes that prefer temperatures that are a little cooler than ball pythons, throw them in the bottom of the rack and then don't worry about it. That's what I actually just started to actually have ball pythons in this rack in the bottom level, and they don't have any issues with it being 3 degrees cooler. You also have to realize that maybe the perfect temperatures are 80 ambient and 90 hot spot, but your snakes are going to be okay if they're a couple degrees off. You'd prefer if they weren't, but it's not going to harm your snakes if it's, let's say, 78 and 91. It's not going to harm your snakes. It's okay if they're not perfect, but you don't want your ambient air to be 70 and your hot spots to be 80, or your hot spots to be 100. That's too much off of what those temperatures should be. So you want it to be within, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 at the most degrees difference from the 80 and 90 temperatures that we do use. So, you know, I don't use night drops other than what naturally occurs in the room by itself. You have to adjust and test. As you can see, this rack, I've had it for 5 days, and I just put 4 snakes in here because I tested it to make sure that, well, first the heating elements were working, but the levels were heating accurately and I was getting the temperatures I wanted in there. So test it. You'll need to adjust your thermostat. This one took a while. Let's see, I have this one at 94. This one's 94. Well, I set it at the same temperature because that's what was working for this 55 series, and it worked for this one too. So they have basically static temperatures between the two racks. That's what worked for me in this specific room, and that gets the hot spots to roughly 90, 91 degrees. As I move up here, they're a little warmer. They're 91, but this room itself sits at basically 80 degrees all the time, so it's not like the ambient temperature in those racks are getting any higher than that. It's 80 in the front, basically between most of the levels except for the bottom one, and it's a little warmer in the back of these, but that 1 degree is not going to hurt that snake. Now the cool thing, the couple things you need that help with this process is you need a gun that can take those temperatures, and this one, if it'll focus here, is Mestec. Basically, I think these are a bunch of Chinese companies that just make them all under different names. Amazon, maybe 20 bucks. The cool tool that I purchased that I think is a game changer, and I talked about it in my other cool tool thing here, is the brand, I hope this works here, Govee, Govee. They make a smart fan here that I have. They have an air purifier that I don't have, but it's underneath the rats here so that it can suck up some of the dust. They also make a thermostat system that is not very expensive. I think I maybe paid 60 bucks for the hub and for the 6 little probes. There's a probe here, and you guys may even use, that's a Therm Pro. I'm trying to find this here. This is actually a Govee, like an individual thermostat. I actually have one that has Wi-Fi built into it. However, the hub and the individual thermostats, this is maybe the one that had the big one that has Wi-Fi here. You can buy a hub and you can buy all these little probes. I keep one in my incubator there. I have a probe hanging off of this rack. I have one hanging off of this rack. And then I bought 3 extras that oh geez, I wish I know where I put them. I lose them all the time, which is kind of the bad part. I'll slide them in the tubs, and I'll place maybe one up here and one in the back just to do spot checks. I actually have one up here that I found the other day that was missing. This is number 5, and I label them. You know, this is number 5, and I'll put it in here. And so that's in this tub here, it's number 5, and then you go to the app, and you can monitor your temperatures from anywhere, as long as your hub is on. So let's see, let's go to 5. Now that I put 5 in there, they pretty much update in real time. So that tub is sitting at 81 degrees ambient air temperature. These do not work for the hot spots. I tried putting one in the hot spot and it doesn't get like a pinpoint reading like the gun does. So that doesn't work for that, but ambient air temperatures, it's perfect. For the incubator, it's extremely important, and I usually leave these battery-powered ones with the display on the individual levels, but what I'm gonna do is just kind of affix maybe one up here, one in the middle, one on the bottom, and leave them in there permanently. But I bought an LED light strip for my TV, one of the ones that changes colors from Govee during Prime days. But I also saw that they had these thermostats because I wanted the fan and the air purifier, and now I found the thermostat from them as well, and they all work under the same app. They are all Wi-Fi enabled. The app is very intuitive. It's really cool to be able to adjust the fan and the air purifier from this app, but being able to monitor the temperatures of anything you need to in the room where you place these little sensors. And I think the 3-pack of these sensors is like maybe 30 bucks, and the hub that comes with 3 sensors around 30, 40 bucks. Those are close to the same cost as buying these ones with the display. Now I still use the ones with the display so I can just look at it without having to open my phone. But to me it's a game changer, because if I'm not home, I can look at my incubator to make sure that's actually at 90 degrees. And awesome tool. So it's Govee check them out on Amazon. They have a bunch of cool stuff, but for the purposes of keeping your reptile room running smoothly, look into those products. So that's what I do with my room, though. I don't do night drops, to answer your question. And the room sits at 80 degrees. The other thing is in winter, which is supposed to help the females kind of start getting in the mood, the room does get colder. I don't keep it at 80 degrees. It usually sits probably around 77 or so. Because it's too expensive to keep it at 80, I have to use this natural gas heater here. And my gas bill, which was like $40 this month, goes up to $400 in the winter because it's so expensive to run that and to heat the house. So to keep this on medium heat and then keep this room warm, it sometimes gets down to 76, but it usually sits around 77 or so, which also helps the whole kind of breeding season kick into gear. So that's the other thing here that that's kind of nice about being in the Northeast, with how cold it gets. So that's the snake room. That's how I adjust the temperatures, and that's where I keep the temperatures at. And again, if you guys have any awesome questions like AJ had, I think it was AJ, right? I hope I didn't screw that up. AJ Bryant. If you have any good questions like him, please comment down below and let me know, and I can make videos, give a shout out to you, and then post your question online as well.